is to really reflect upon where our true freedom lies. Our true freedom lies not in our ability to move across our country or even in and out of our country with just a passport. Our true freedom lies not in our ability to be able to choose our education or where we live. Our true freedom lies in who we are as women and men called by God. True freedom is not something that we create. True freedom is something that God has given us. It is a grace. It is a gift. It is a right given to all of us by God, who were created in God's image and likeness. And so we share in God's creativity. We share in God's energy. We share in that true freedom that is a God who loves us to death. Freedom. Freedom, sisters and brothers, does not mean you and I can do just whatever we want to do. See, freedom, that's not freedom. That's license. Now hear me again. There's a difference between freedom and license. License says, I can do whatever I want. It doesn't matter who's in my way. It doesn't matter who might be an obstacle. I can do whatever I well please. Freedom, sisters and brothers, means that we do what we want so long as it does not impinge on the rights of others. True freedom carries responsibility. True freedom carries with it the demand that we have to realize that we do not live isolated as individual islands. You and I are part of a human family. And my freedoms cannot impact and impinge upon your freedom any more than yours can on mine. Only when we see ourselves connected in those relationships can we truly be free and authentic women and men of faith. Jesus talks to those disciples and sends them out 2 by 2. It's no accident that they're out in pairs, so that one can keep the other one in check. You know, it's no accident that in the history of our church, and by God's grace, that very often there were more than one priest in a parish. There was a reason for that. Not just simply to assign priests and deacons so that they had jobs. No, there was a reason for that, so that the one minister could keep the other minister in check. That no one became an autocrat. That no one became a dictator. And so, church, that's why I'm so grateful we have Deacon Mark now. Because all that we do, sisters and brothers, we come to realize we don't do it alone. And so Jesus sends those disciples out in pairs, and he says, go to these towns. Talk to these folks. Tell them that God's reign is among them, that great things are happening in their midst. And if they receive you, stay with them. Let them help you along in this mission. You know, he says, don't take any food, don't take any extra clothes, don't take any walking sticks, take nothing, but depend upon the providence of God. What Jesus says to those disciples, be free. Be free in the mission to teach and preach. Don't worry about having to protect your things along the way. It was one of the images that captured the heart of St. Francis of Assisi as he gathered those brothers together and said, we're not going to own anything. We're not going to have anything at all. Because once you begin to own things, remember his time, in the time of the Middle Ages, as wealth and power is beginning to accumulate, Francis saw that the more people accumulated wealth, the more isolated they became. The more hardened they became one to another, that they had to protect what was mine and stay away from what was yours. Jesus says, no, I want you to be free to preach the gospel. I want you to be interdependent and rely upon those communities that you go to. Don't be so proud that you can't ask for something to eat. Don't be so self-sufficient to think that you don't need someone else's care to allow you a place to stay. I want you to be completely free to proclaim the reign of God. And so, as the story says, the disciples go out and they do great things. And to those towns that did not receive them, Jesus allowed them to be so free that he said, if they won't believe you, if they won't receive you, shake the dust from your feet and move on. Let it be a testimony against them. Maybe in today's words, we might say those disciples, when they came to those towns and they weren't received, the disciples just said, whatever. Now, sisters, brothers, we gotta be careful how we say whatever. Because, we can say whatever with a whole bunch of attitude. Whatever. Don't tell me. Don't talk whatever. But what Jesus was calling those disciples to do was to say, whatever God wills, let it be so. Whatever God wills, let it be so. And the disciples came to those towns. Some they were well received, others they weren't so well received, and they moved on. And when they came back to Jesus, they said, oh my gosh, we did all these incredible things. We cast out demons. We healed people. We did all these things in your name. Jesus, you are really great. We're going to hang with you forever. Some of them didn't know how true those words would be. And Jesus turns to them and says, no, this isn't about you. This isn't about what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether people receive you well or not. It doesn't matter whether you're doing great things or not. It doesn't matter where all these things are attributed to you or not. What matters is that you are assigned a name in the book of heaven. What matters is that your name belongs in the reign of God because you have so freed yourself from the stuff of this world that you are already there in the reign of God. True freedom, sisters and brothers, really asks us to set aside our own agendas and being able to say to God, whatever you want, whatever you desire, whatever you ask, I make myself available to you. And yet, sisters and brothers, so often we kind of end that prayer with our own kind of adaptation. We said, whatever you want, Lord, I'll do, but ask me first. Let me let you know what I'm willing to do, and then you tell me what you want me to do. And we'll see if we know. We can't come to some agreement on that. It's what God is asking us to do. Being able to say whatever to the will of God is what you and I are invited